Assalamualaikum everyone. This is Dr. Mohammed Siddique Khurram. I'm a staff pathologist at HCA North Cyprus Medical Center, and I'm a clinical assistant professor at Sam Houston University in Houston area. I'm also a member of YPC and leading the observership committee at UPNA YPC and chair of YPC at South Texas chapter. Besides that, I'm a founding president of Pakistani American Pathologist Society. And most of you would know me that I'm very passionate about mentoring and helping our younger graduates in whatever way we can. So today's webinar is about the challenges and possible solutions for the upcoming match. I'm sure most of our candidates would be a mix of students who unfortunately couldn't match and students who will be in the match for the first time. So we'll try to cover in this short video just some brief highlights, but some brief points about what you can do to polish your skills, polish your CV, polish your communications, and then later on we'll do the interactive session. So so basically the first thing is first part of my session I would focus on if you matched on the unmatched applicants. So did you match? If you did, congratulations. Enjoy this time. This is the best time of your life, and cherish this moment and do whatever you would like to do the best. But if you unfortunately did not match, this is not the end of the world. Trust me. I mean, this is just the part of the life. If you did not match, it doesn't mean that in any way you are inferior to someone who matched. It's just that it was not your year, probably, and then you just keep trying and eventually things will work out. But the first and foremost question is, if you were in match and you did not match, find out the reason why. I have been reached out by many students who unfortunately did not match, and they'll ask me, please tell us why I did not match. I mean, there's no way for me to assume to kind of explain why you did not match. The best answer why you did not match would be from you guys, right? I mean, you would be the best person to judge, like, what did you do wrong? Where did you, lagged? And what is it that you can do better? So I think when you did not match, meaning that you had the interviews, the first and foremost thing would be, how did you perform in those interviews, right? That's the key. Communication skills is the key to success. Every year, I come across many students who matched with just one interview, and every year, I know personally many consistently over the years that they had over 10 interviews, over 20 interviews, and they did not match. Now, what do you guys think personally? Like, what would be the factor? Like, someone who had one interview, someone who had 20 interviews, the person with one interview matched, the person with 20 interviews did not match. Now, if you're talking about the credentials, the CV and all that, obviously someone who had 20 interviews had way better CV than the person who had one interview, right? I mean, unfortunately, how the system is that you will get the number of interviews is directly proportional to the what you have in your CV, right? So, or the credentials and all that. So if you did not match, it means the basic thing is the communication or your performance in the interview. So that is the key. Once you have the interview, that is the key thing. And so reflect on those shortcomings, like just find out what did you do wrong. Now, key to a best interview performance is, you would hear this often, is be yourself. Now, it is actually true to be yourself, because now see, I mean, when you have written a personal statement and a CV, in certain language, and it may be reviewed by mentors. There are other agency services which may review it, and so it may not reflect exactly when you are speaking in the interview. There's kind of a disconnect between the CV, your personal statement, and when you're communicating. There's a big disconnect. So that's right there is the red flag. There's just one example. So the bottom line is just reflect on your shortcomings and find out what is it that went wrong and work on that. It's always good to have the feedback from the programs where you interviewed. You can email them nicely, and sometimes they reply, sometimes they don't. Many times they will reply with a generic answer. Many times they may actually tell you the reason, and many times you will hear. Just hearing that you were ranked is a good thing. So always it's always good to get that feedback and from the mentors also and the programs that you interviewed. So then I'll just focus on in my next few slides, next few minutes about the most important thing as we know from these years that the U.S. clinical experience. So this year match, I think it was a little bit different. It was very successful match for all Pakistanis and overall for all IMGs. But what you would have realized that the so-called credentials, the good credentials, which used to mean, I believe, are high scores and year of graduation. Now I think we are past beyond that. It's not only just the high scores because the average scores these days is 250, right? So if we have that, if somebody says I have excellent scores and it's 255, so it's good. I mean, but it's not like excellent in the sense because when average is 250, so it's just in that average range. So it doesn't mean that it's a bad score. It's a very good score. So a score still counts, and there are still filters in the program. So if you have higher scores, of course, your chances of your CV being reviewed would be higher. But that's not the only thing. In this year, we noticed that most people who got interviews who matched had way better CV as compared to who did not, unfortunately. So US clinical experience, basically, I'm sure you're all aware, it's on-hands clinical experience, working with the patients, conducting in an inpatient, outpatient setting. So, honestly, in my personal opinion, it doesn't matter if it's inpatient and outpatient. I mean, whatever experience you may get, of course, the hierarchy would be if you get in an academic place, of course, that would be better than if you can get into a residency program where you can actually perform well, and then in that way you can impress them, and then that's already an interview when you are kind of doing a rotation in a program where there's a residency. So that's kind of an interview already there. So that's of course better. But whatever experience you can get in US is yes, clinical experience. And then of course the top thing is that the best thing is to get an elective, which you can only get if you're a medical student. So, but as we have seen, that majority of of the applicants are passed beyond that medical student. By the time they are looking for the experience, they are not medical students anymore, so they can do the electives. So, but if you are a medical student, I would strongly recommend, emphasize that try to get those electives. That's the actual on-hand clinical experience. Everything else is not. Now, externship, I think they don't even exist anymore. But observerships are your biggest bet. You would hear this often that observership is not true clinical experience, which is kind of true. You're only observing, but that's not the point. The point here is that you need to familiarize yourself to the US healthcare system, right? And that the only option you have really is observership, right? We'll talk about the research in the next couple of minutes, but that's the only experience you have is the observership. So getting those observerships and working towards getting the quality letter of recommendation is the key. Now, observership can get you into so many other things. Now, the making the context would be the key, but just your performance overall. And I've noticed many times when students come and ask for rotations and all that, they are very focused on would we get a LOR. I mean, you are not. Just keep in mind that you are not, it's not like necessary that you may get a LOR. A letter of recommendation, and some person can only recommend if they feel like you are worth their recommendation, right? So you have to prove it, you have to earn it. It just doesn't come automatically unless if it's a paid service, right? So observership definitely is still it goes on and it does make an impact because that's really the only thing that you might have. So look for all those opportunities. Inpatient versus outpatient, I have already mentioned, like, it should be, the CV should be basically mix of everything. Ideally, your CV should have kind of everything, there's like a check mark for, like, if you have home country experience, check. If you have research, if you have any US clinical experience, you have inpatient, you have outpatient. So what kind of experience you have? If you have mix and match of all, that is better. And always look for quality of the work, not only quantity. So in many cases, students I have seen, they will just come and look for the LOR that we need 3 letters of recommendation and we are done. So that's not the case. So you should be focused on the quality of what sort of work that you're doing, and if that work would generate a strong letter for you. So that's the key. So content of the letter is the key, right? Not just that you have three letters from this hospital or different hospitals and all that. And most importantly, from observership again, or any clinical rotation, any attachment, the key is to establish context, right? This is the most important thing. And context, people consider it differently. Like if you know me and I'm going to ask someone to just pull you an interview, those are not really the context, those connections that you already have. Establishing context through your professional work, that is going to play a major role, and we have seen it consistently that people who are proactive during their rotations, and then the context they made through their personal work ethics are way stronger than any other, your friend or relatives answers. So it's work on doing that. um, Home country experience is always a plus. You must have that. There should be no gap in your CV. And the best thing to have from your home country is, of course, the residency or formal residency training. So always, when you're preparing for the exams, and I've seen this a lot, that, there are gaps in the CV that you were reading for USMLE. Now that just doesn't happen. Like you should be doing something. The best thing is to get yourself enrolled into a residency program. It is going to be tough, I'm sure, but there are so many resources these days. The exams are different these days as compared to back in the day when you had to read a lot of textbooks and all that. So it is still doable. Best thing would be to get those residency, and this will also open your doors to fellowship positions here in the United States. If you have some home country residency experience, you may also have something like a fellowship here in the US. So that's always a big plus. And lastly, the research opportunities. And research can be, again, the best thing is to get a postdoc research, any research associate or research coordinator kind of a position, volunteer research. But how do you get those research is like a huge topic that we'll try to cover later in the interactive session. But the best thing is, if you're a medical student, start early. Find yourself a mentor. I'm sure no matter where in earth you are going to medical school, I'm sure every medical school will have some faculties that'll be very active in the research. Try to find those, try to work your way around it, and do it as soon as possible in your medical schools. Once you have that, that's how you get started. And if you are past that, you can always start. It's always, whenever you have time, whenever you are ready, you can just start, find a mentor. And there are so many opportunities online, for volunteer research positions, for remote research positions, and then just find how to write any research article, any review article, any case report, or anything. Just saying that you don't have any experience, and how do you get that experience is you have to prove yourself to someone, right? If I was looking for a research associate position, if I'm a faculty, I'm looking to hire someone, of course I would have to see something on your CV that you have worked in research before. So you can start slow, steady, and work your way around it. And when you're reaching out to the faculty or to programs, search for their on their website, search for their email addresses, look on PubMed, search through their work, their publications, what they have worked. Personalized emails are always best. And you literally will have to send thousands, and when I'm saying thousand, I do literally mean the thousands of email that you have to send to get a few responses. So that's kind of the gist of it, just to kind of give you an idea what we'd be talking about in this webinar. And then if you listen to this video before joining the webinar, it'll be great. So we can have a good interactive session. So thank you very much for listening, and then we'll see you guys very soon.